Hi everyone, welcome to this Mobile World Live webinar. My name is Tim Green. I'm part of the Mobile World Live team and I'll be moderating today's session on connectivity by design, the future of payments. And this session is sponsored by Telit. Now, since COVID, the payments landscape is evolving at an unprecedented rate. Cashless transactions and digital wallets have gone from experimental to near universal. And this is just the start of a broader transformation in the way we pay, which could even see machines making transactions on behalf of their owners. So this shift provides incredible opportunities and challenges for companies that want to participate in the payments market. And that includes mobile operators who can play their part by embedding connectivity and security into payment devices. So it's a fascinating area. And in fact, Telit recently published a paper on the topic on the Mobile World Live website, and you can download that today by clicking on the resources tab and following the instructions. Okay, so on to today's webinar. I'm delighted to introduce our two speakers for today. They are Thierry Huguin, he's the head of connectivity and solutions portfolio at Telit, and to Christina Pazziora, who's the lead analyst for IoT and enterprise at GSMA Intelligence. So before we kick off and hear from our speakers, some housekeeping. Today's session will be about 45 to 50 minutes long, and you can ask any questions at any time by clicking on the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. We'll keep track of your questions and we'll try to answer them in the time that we have at the end of the session. Also, look out for an email in the next few days from Mobile World Live with instructions on how to watch again and share the presentation with colleagues. Okay, so with that, I'll welcome our speakers. Christina will kick us off and she'll hand over to Thierry, and then we'll have 15 minutes or so at the end for your questions. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Tim. Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christina Pazziora, lead analyst for IoT and enterprise at GSMA Intelligence, and I'm setting the scene for today's webinar with Telit. I'd like to give an update on the state of things in the IoT market and comment on key trends we see in the payment segment. Can I go to next first slide, please? And one more. So, IoT revenue is growing and the opportunity keeps expanding. This is propelled primarily by the increasing customer awareness of the benefits, as well as the maturity and experience of the IoT ecosystem that allows it to pick up momentum. This growth, as a broad trend across regions and applications, leads to increasing revenue for all types of IoT players, connectivity providers, hardware and platform vendors alike. So the first important takeaway is that demand for IoT is confirmed as a trend and is only growing. Now, for individual companies, individual IoT vendors, the case might be different as the IoT market remains largely a highly dynamic space. This means competition is very high and the changes are very frequent. We believe that consistent growth should be the target for companies. They need to work to embed themselves deeper in their chosen markets, work to have happy customers, deliver robust and reliable services continuously. In the last few years, we have been seeing acquisitions taking place. Some of the big tech, like Google or other key players like Ericsson, divesting, and more traditional M2M players sticking around and managing to carry on very successfully. Can I go to the next slide, please? The IoT ecosystem is comprised of hardware and software application vendors, as well as connectivity providers, in addition to a myriad integrators and resellers. As mentioned earlier, the market is broadly highly dynamic, with constant changes, new entries, and great differentiation. However, for some focused IoT players, focused in terms of technological or application, the focus strategy seems to be paying off. Focused IoT players, either in IoT modules, IoT connectivity, IoT enablement platforms, seem to be growing healthier businesses. As IoT deployments, particularly in the enterprise setting, require continuous support, this entails opportunities for various system integrators and maintenance services vendors. Finally, as IoT technology is ever evolving, new technical capabilities are driving growth in new segments like eSIM, in automotive, utilities, retail, payments, digital signage, or important synergies between private networks and IoT for new infrastructure upgrade works in ports, airports, factories, warehouses, and so on. Next slide, please. An update on where are operators with IoT. Half of operators are still focusing on connectivity-centric IoT. 53% based on our most recent survey on operators' IoT strategy. 53% of operators are offering either IoT connectivity services only or connectivity and connectivity management platforms. 46% have moved up, as we say, the value chain, offering application enablement platforms and integration services. Given that it's very common for IoT solutions to need more than one type of connectivity technology, among these 31% of operators offering connectivity-only IoT, 1/3 of them offers IoT connectivity using cellular and non-cellular technologies, such as Wi-Fi, LoRa, and satellite. After a slowdown in IoT revenue growth during the COVID pandemic, growth rates have accelerated for most of the operators we have been analyzing. It is very likely that this trend will continue, as IoT technology is now better and more widely understood by end-user adopters. In our survey, IoT services ranked as the second most important service for enterprise success after 5G connectivity, highlighting the growing relevance of IoT in operators' portfolio of enterprise services. At the same time, and based on operators' customer feedback, there is already spotted an important synergy between selling IoT and selling private networks. As for plans for the future, 1/3 of operators sees IoT as a strategic area and intend to increase investments. 1/3 says their strategy needs adjustments, and 1/3 says it's unclear about whether they will continue in IoT. Next slide, please. Now let's bring these all into the context of payments and retail. One can find value in IoT in known applications like mobile payments, POS transactions, smart vending machines. These are existing, but also a lot of emerging ones like automotive payments, digital currency support, digital wallets, integration with a smart retail experience that is also changing. There is no question that payments are relying less and less on cash, with important correlations between ownership of smartphones, online shopping, the use of online shopping, contactless and mobile payments, as well as younger ages of users and consumers. These are broad trends we see in our tracking. Looking out to the mid to longer term future, smart payments will be an essential part of daily life and the economy in a much more integrated way. For example, passive IoT, an emerging technology, is using smart, self-powered, connected, ultra-thin tags, and these are going to enable much more products, much more assets, such as containers, packaging in products, to be IoT enabled and us to perform transactions much more seamlessly. And this summarizes today's presentation. Next slide, please. If you would like to read more about our work, please visit the links shown in the slide or feel free to contact me directly. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Thierry for his presentation from Telit side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christina. So let me try to explain how Telit Cinterion is trying to help supporting the evolution of the payment industry. But before entering into the segment details, I just would like to give a very rapid overview of what Telit Cinterion is doing in this IoT landscape. So Telit Cinterion is a leading Western IoT solution provider and the leading Western module vendor. So we're focused on the consultative and advisory approach for demanding business critical and mission critical IoT project. we do believe that we are uniquely positioned in this industry to simplify and accelerate the customer IoT journey and facilitate the digital transformation of companies embracing IoT, whatever segment they are working on. And to do that, we have multiple elements inside our offer. Obviously, we're cellular module providers trying to bring access to all the cellular technology deployed across the world. We're also a connectivity provider, a connectivity solution provider. We can help our customers accessing a data plan with the maximum coverage possible, but we have also some remote SIM provisioning capabilities. We have all the platforms that are required to manage all these elements together. And we have also a turnkey solution business unit that can help our customers embracing the IoT and bringing all these elements together for their own purpose. So that is a very rapid overview of what Telit Cinterion is bringing to the IoT market. But for today, we will try to focus on the payment space, and we will try to understand how the EUICC standard evolution is going to potentially help the payment industry to add value to their customers. When we look at a segment, usually we try to understand what will be the entire, we speak about the IoT journey. Deploying a device in the field is not something that is a one-day operation. It's something that is going to be a very long period of time. And we will go through different phases. And for each phases, there will be potential challenges. And the challenges are always different depending on the segment. And when we try to look at what can be the challenges across these different phases for the payment industry, we can see that there will be first, during the planification of the device, of the service, a lot of questions to answer. The technology selection, what is the right cellular technology to be used for a payment terminal? Is it an LP1 connectivity? Is it a 5G connectivity? So here, obviously, you need to have someone able to help you understanding the pros and cons of all the technology. The connectivity, how to deal with the connectivity also. So deciding to go with one unique connectivity supplier, multiple connectivity suppliers, and obviously here, the footprint of deployment is going to drive different solutions. When you need to deal with multiple connectivity suppliers, then the SIM logistic can become a problem. How to deal with this SIM logistic, as well as manufacturing with different SIMs eventually. So all these elements are important points to understand when you are planning your deployment of payment terminals or payment devices in the field. When the selection, the technology has been selected, the connectivity has been selected, you need obviously to deploy these devices in the field. And here, also the activation of the connectivity, the right selection, making sure that the right connectivity supplier is going to be used in the different countries that where the devices are going to be deployed, managing with unexpected situation where maybe the coverage of one supplier versus another one. All these elements can be also challenges preventing a smooth deployment of the different devices for the fleet of payment devices. And when the devices have been deployed, it's only still the beginning of the journey, because these devices, these payment terminals or any cash machine or different equipments will have to operate smoothly during a very long period of time. There are here also many challenges that could be faced during this operational phase. Is it unexpected cost linked to usage in a roaming restricted area or with different partners, and the cost was not properly controlled and anticipated? Maybe there will be some connectivity outage on the connectivity supplier that was initially used inside the device is not operating anymore because a cell has been moved, or whatever problem is happening with that specific connectivity supplier. It's also important to mention the fact that these are obviously sensitive equipments with payment operations. So there will always be security threat, and security is always an end-to-end question. On obviously the cellular connectivity must be protected also like any other element of the payment terminal. There might be also some complexity linked to using different platforms, especially if there are multiple connectivity suppliers, then it becomes a bit more complex to deal with all these suppliers. So we are convinced inside the Telit, Cinterion, that we need to provide to support this IoT journey on the complexity of each phase for the payment industry. We need to give strong support on expertise, but also flexibility. You might have some service providers, connectivity service providers, telling that they will manage every situation, every location, every case. So we obviously do also ourselves as an MVNO, we try to promote each time possible and where relevant or connectivity with the maximum coverage. Usually it's bringing a lot of value, like a good way to control the cost and a good expertise, because we are also a cellular module supplier, so we have a very good understanding of cellular technology. But we do consider that we need also to bring the flexibility and the insurance to the payment industry. First, that they are not locked in with one connectivity supplier, so they need to be able to change over time for different reasons. You might have different rates or different operators willing to work with you as a partner, and we think that we need to provide this flexibility. Nonetheless, we need to provide the flexibility, but we are even considering that we need to help our customers, making sure that they can bring the connectivity of their choice. So you need to have some support to bring the connectivity, to enable the connectivity inside the device remotely. And we are also convinced that maybe it's not one connectivity supplier only that is the right solution, but maybe a combination of different connectivity suppliers, so that you can improve the robustness and the resilience of the connectivity offer. And we really believe that it's the combination of a connectivity offer combined with all the flexibility of EUICC capabilities that is going to be the right set of solution to make sure that the payment equipments will be operating smoothly during the entire lifetime of their usage. So Telit Cinterion obviously is an MVNO. We are providing coverage across the world. We have multiple partners that are helping us bringing this connectivity across more than 200 plus countries. We're partnering with many operators, and we will provide to our customers access to connectivity management platforms and tools to help dealing with the fleet of SIMs when the payment industry would be using our connectivity. But today we wanted to stress even more the possibilities that will be offered with the EUICC technology. This is the EUICC technology is entering a new phase with the arrival of a new standard called SGP32 that will bring a lot of flexibility and capabilities. So here we need to imagine if we could produce with one variant only on ship worldwide. If we could source the SIM from a single supplier instead of many operators and install the connectivity subscription without any physical interaction with the device. And also we need to anticipate the future, and we ensure that the product are also prepared for future iSIM adoption. So this is what the new EUICC standard is going to enable, and we intend to help our customers accessing this technology and embracing the flexibility offered with the new EUICC standard. If we try to understand a bit what it means, we shall imagine that the payment terminal is equipped with a cellular module on an embedded SIM soldered inside the device, which has no connectivity. And with a remote SIM provisioning platform, we can enable multiple connectivity suppliers, so multiple MNO or MVNO inside the SIM. And then based on some decision criteria or business rules, you can activate the connectivity of Telit Cinterion. Our connectivity is branded next, but you can also enable the connectivity of alternative suppliers. So that is a use case to facilitate the deployment and installation of the devices in the field, or also in factory, the provisioning of the SIM in factory. So digitization of the SIM experience, I would say. Another use case is to improve the resilience of the solution during the lifetime of the device. So you have a connectivity that is deployed so inside the SIM that has been loaded remotely inside the SIM, and for many different reasons that could happen, this connectivity is not performing enough. It's not offering the right quality of service, and you need to fall back to a different connectivity. Here also, the eSIM, the new eSIM standard, will facilitate the deployment of fallback connectivity solutions, whereby loading remotely an alternative subscription, if ever you observe that the initial connectivity is not working anymore, you can fall back to an alternative connectivity solution and ensure that the device remains connected to the network and that the payment operation can be operated without hiccup. And all that can be automated with the platform, so that it's really transparent for the user. On here, then it means that the company offering the payment service can guarantee the SLA to his customers, and obviously make sure that the people paying with the terminal will be able to pay and buy the goods that they were willing to buy. The fallback is one example of a use case that can be covered with the new EUICC standard and the new eSIM capabilities. The connectivity switch is another one. It's a little bit similar, but here it's really finally making offering real EUICC capability, because with the previous standard we had this possibility of changing the connectivity supplier, but in reality it is something that would be very complex because it requires a lot of investment and efforts to enable a new connectivity supplier. With the new standard, it's really going to be much easier to do that, and you could really load remotely an alternative supplier within the SIM, so that if you have decided that the supplier that you were using natively or initially inside the device is not anymore the one you want to partner with, you have the possibility during the lifetime of the device to manage a campaign, an upgrade campaign, to change remotely the subscription deployed inside the devices. So it's another use case that we consider relevant for the payment industry that would be facilitated using the new EUICC standard that is coming. So if we try to recap a bit the different use cases on implementation, we have examples there. So the subscription profiles will be downloaded and activated during the device manufacturing or in the field. So all that is done using different platforms. So you see here an EIM. So this is the server that will help managing all the provisioning of the connectivities. And what is important to understand is that all this technology is leveraging a standard that has been deployed for the phone industry, for the consumer phone industry. So the standard was called Consumer. This is basically what we are using inside our smartphone to download the connectivity inside the SIM that is natively soldered inside the smartphone. So it's leveraging the same industry. The SMDP Plus is the server where the subscription are stored by the different operators. On the platform will help to download, so either in factory or in the field, the right subscription inside the device according to different business rules that would be defined by the payment service provider. It means really that there is a huge simplification of the SKU complexity as well as the manufacturing complexity, because with one unique BOM, you have a real ability to customize the SIM inside the device. So it's digitization of the SIM experience. No need to supply the SIM from different network operators. You just go with a vanilla blank SIM, and the subscription is going to be loaded remotely. It can be done in the factory, but it can be done also during the installation phase, which is really offering a large flexibility to the customers. The fallback also is important here. It's more this idea that during the deployment of the device and during the operational phase of the device, you might face difficulties with the connectivity. The coverage is not there anymore. The signal is weaker than it's been, resulting to poor functionality of the payment terminal. On here, activating remotely an alternative subscription, a fallback subscription, is a way to recover and ensure that the service can be operated. And it's obviously also fleet management cost reduction, because it means that you do not need to send someone on site to understand what is happening with the terminal, what is the problem, changing the SIM, deciding the SIM, because when you combine these remote SIM provisioning capabilities with the cellular modules, which can be used also to monitor what is around the device, what are the different network available, it means that you can really be efficient deciding the right fallback subscription to ensure that the device remains operative in the field and can be used for its purpose. So again, when we try to address a segment, we really need to understand the different pain points that will be faced during the usage of the device. And we really try to explain this concept of IoT journey. Again, it's not a one-day problem. It's really a problem that needs to be considered during the entire lifetime of the device. So you need to find someone who can bring to you all the elements to manage this complete IoT journey. So our understanding of the payment industry is that obviously the installation has to be easy for the retailer. It shall not be too complex to get the payment terminal up on working. Obviously, ideally, you have a solution that can be deployed globally without dealing with too much complexity. We obviously do not want to be surprised by the operating cost on the controlling all the cost related to connectivity will be extremely important to make sure that the business case and the business model is respected, and all that during the entire lifetime of the payment device usage. So Telit Cinterion is willing to support this IoT journey for the payment industry. And to do that, we try to combine multiple elements. So on one side, we have our own connectivity offer as an MVNO, and we have a very wide coverage based on the multi-IMSI implementation. So it shall cover many of the cases on many of the deployment of payment terminal. But we recognize also the fact that the payment industry is needing flexibility in choice, but also over the lifetime. Who is going to be the partner to work with for a connectivity purpose? And to help bringing this flexibility, we provide advanced remote SIM provisioning. we have the chance to also offer cellular connectivity. So it means that we can use the cellular modem also to help improving even more the selection and the monitoring of the connectivity health to improve and bring real value in the selection of the connectivity supplier on the right profiles to make sure that the connectivity is reaching the best performance possible. All that is really done to facilitate the deployment of the devices, to ensure that there is no bill shock on helping on cost optimization of managing all these this fleet of payment terminals or devices. But also bringing this flexibility and this insurance that you're not trapped with one connectivity supplier only, and that you will have the flexibility during the entire lifetime of the device to eventually change and combine different suppliers for the duration of operation of the device in the field. So that gives you a bit an overview of what the new EUICC standard will enable for the payment industry. How Telit Cinterion is willing to leverage this standard to bring value to this segment of IoT industry. And I hope that it helps you understanding a bit the possibilities that will be offered in the future, leveraging this EUICC technology. And from there, I think I can hand over to Tim for questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much to Christina and Thierry there for that great overview. We've had a few questions in, and we've got a few minutes now just to get to those. So I think given the amount of attention that both speakers paid to the changes in SIM technology, it's not surprising we've had a few questions on that topic. So Christina, you sort of gave some numbers on the sort of attitudes of MNOs to eSIM. Can you give an update on numbers? Can you give any projections or install bases and so on eSIM?
Sure. So the context here is that eSIM as a technology belongs to the big family of mobile technologies. Therefore, it was being developed. It has been developed since many years. The real milestone in terms of commercialization was perhaps the latest iPhone launch in 2022 in the US, which was allowing for eSIM. And since then, we have been seeing an acceleration in the market. Now we have been tracking launches by mobile network operators as well as MVNOs. And so far in 2023, so the first half of 2023 has been the strongest in terms of launches. And we expect this to pick up momentum. Our assumption is that from 2025 and on, we will see like a real expansion in more eSIM only devices, particularly smartphones. So this is where we anticipate for eSIM to be fully developed in the market.
Okay, well that's actually that leads on to our next question. You just talked about smartphone adoption there. What about the level of eSIM adoption in IoT applications?
Yes, so this is picking up as well. Obviously, the smartphones, and I guess for today's discussion, both are relevant because the smartphone is really about consumers, but payments is in between, right? So between consumer IoT and enterprise IoT, as we call it ourselves. So today it's around 60% of eSIM connections we believe are in smartphones. eSIM in IoT is growing, particularly in automotive. This is the primary application, and what has been growing really fast is also in utilities, meters, in payments as well. So these are the key categories. We have been seeing as well some digital signage applications, which also has to do with retail and the retail experience. So yes, another perhaps important point, Thierry brought it up quite clearly in his presentation, is this pre-baking of connectivity and of eSIM capability. We have started seeing this more and more in order to facilitate like larger scales in the manufacturing of devices. The feedback we are getting is that this is really helping the market scale when it comes to like the earlier stages of producing connected devices that are eSIM enabled, obviously with a view to what's the value for the customer, again mentioned in the presentation, which is all about being more independent of like the network, being more resilient in terms of something can happen, then you have this fallback as well. So yes, a lot of benefits across the board.
Okay, thank you. Thierry, you talked a lot in your presentation about the new SIM technologies. Can you dive a little bit more specifically into the impact on the payment industry of those changes?
So I think Christina just said that the eSIM was widely adopted before in the automotive industry. And I'm absolutely convinced that the automotive industry was almost the only one who could really adopt the previous eSIM standard called M2M, because the level of investments were really important to bring multiple connectivity suppliers into the car. The level of investment to integrate different servers and complexity was really big. So there were finally few industries that could really afford investing in this EUICC technology. And what we see is that this new standard is finally changing the game because it becomes affordable, I would say, as a first point. So all the value of the EUICC technology, of all the promise of using an eSIM, is made really possible with this new standard because it's not requiring huge investment upfront. So I think till now the EUICC was poorly used because of those upfront costs that were finally a barrier to the adoption of the eSIM. And this is what I have tried to explain. So we see that the eSIM will bring the flexibility in connectivity supplier selection, but also more resilience by combining easily different suppliers. And what is important also to realize is that it's only a first step. There are more evolutions that are coming inside the eSIM technology. So this is the new standard, but it's probably also very instrumental to the arrival of the iSIM, so the integrated SIM. So when the SIM finally will not be anymore a component that is added to the system, but more something integrated inside the chipset itself. On here, I would say it's not going to be anymore a time to understand and value the benefit of the eSIM, but it's going to be a must-have on all the industry. Will have to manage and to be used to remote SIM provisioning, because with an iSIM, there will be no choice. It's not going to be shall I go there or not, or stay with plastic SIM. It's going to be an EUICC integrated in the device, and then it means that it's going to be finally not anymore a choice. So I think there is value with the eSIM, and it shall be perceived as a first step before going to the iSIM. And finally, it's the concretization. I really see that as the concretization of the value of an eSIM that is going to happen thanks to this standard evolution.
Okay, well, you talked in your presentation about fallback and being able to switch operators remotely. But at the beginning of that process, how should payment companies choose their connectivity suppliers in the first place? Global or local or MNO or MVNO? How do they make that first choice?
It's very complex because it depends completely on where you want to deploy, what type of devices, and it's where I think it's important to have a partner that can help also educating on technology, educating on standards, what is how a remote SIM provisioning platform is working, how it can be used, what will be the drawback of connectivity from an MVNO, maybe in some countries. So this is where you need to have someone who is really transparent on what is really possible with the connectivity offer is able to bring on the table, on someone who is also accepting the challenge to say that it might not be the one always selected, depending on where the devices is going to be deployed, but still bringing value to the customer by bringing this remote SIM provisioning capability. So I think on here also, I've tried to explain this concept of IoT journey. You're not selecting a connectivity supplier for one day. Your connectivity supplier for the entire lifetime of the device. So who is going to support you really during this entire lifetime? So this is what you need to discuss with the connectivity supplier on assess if he's really the one who will bring you the quality of service, but also the flexibility and the support during this entire journey.
Okay, so I think we're coming to our last question now. It's more of a general payments question. How are cashless transactions impacting developing countries? That's again for you, Thierry, I think.
I could also contribute to that one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
As well.
Christina, please go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So there are some interesting developments in lower and middle income countries, like particularly like in Africa, Southeast Asia as well, where IoT has been expanding. So that's quite common with other regions in the world. But in most of these countries, there is like a more perhaps prominent role for the operator offering, on the one hand, offering services such as mobile money, where payments can also very well fit. And on the other hand, it's also quite common for like local operators to be key players when it comes to utilities as well. So, for example, the transition to smart metering is happening in these countries as well. So you can see a nice fit between payments and utilities, which can also be around electricity, water, sanitation as well. And this is providing some good synergies between the two. So you can have things like prepaid models. You can see pay-as-you-go models. You can see like even water ATMs as well, where this mobile money / cashless is picking up, and mobile technologies playing a key role there. And based on our like tracking, we do see like cellular IoT networks picking up, as well as with others like non-cellular variations. But as I said, there is also like some considerations around how prominent mobile operators are in these areas. So I guess it's also like a prime like opportunity space in terms of applications. Now, if you're a vendor like Telit, for example, is different because they have their own priorities and planning. So that's all I have on this one.
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because obviously there's this big new opportunity in the developed world because of cashless payments and developments in connectivity and SIM. But we shouldn't forget that mobile operators in developing markets have been active in mobile money for many years. And obviously, GSMA has done a lot of reporting on that. Anyway, thanks for your comments and for your questions. We've come to the end of our time now, so it's time to wrap up. I want to remind viewers that you will be getting an email, and you can click on the link to watch again. and go to the website as well to check out the Telit white paper on this topic and download that, follow the instructions there. And so with that, I'll say thank you very much to Thierry and to Christina for their insights today. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Cheers. Bye.